Well, we will get started here. So I want to welcome you guys to Yoga for Normal People. This is a typical 30-minute class. Today's class is going to be more of a yoga nidra. So if you've never done a yoga nidra, essentially what it is it is a yogic sleep. It is a guided meditation that will deeply relax, but keep you, just on that edge of sort of awake and asleep. And you'll notice that I'm just kind of kneeling on a block with a blanket beneath my knees. If you'd like to do this sitting up, you're more than welcome. But for this practice in particular, what I would recommend is actually getting nice and flat on the floor or propping a pillow or a bolster underneath your knees. And we're going to spend about 30 minutes just relaxing and resting into the space. So today, if you've sort of checked anything on the news or any of the Twitter feeds or even, gotten a news alert on your phone, you may have noticed that the James Webb telescope has sent back some of the first photos of deep space and of our universe. And so sort of in honor of that, I thought we would do a yoga nidra on space. And that's both space internal and external, and space in terms of like making space for big emotions, making space for experiences. So what I'd like you to do first is just come down to find either a comfortable seat, and that can be seated in a chair, that can be seated at your desk, that can be seated on the floor, or if you'd like, just find a place to be resting flat on your back, maybe in bed, maybe just propping yourself on a nice soft yoga mat, just however you'd like to practice. If you'd like to dim the lights in your room or maybe use an eye pillow or use something to cover your eyes, you're more than welcome. You'll notice that even though it is summertime here, I am in a flannel and sweatpants. I actually got chilled today, so I've been kind of staying warm. So if you are likely to get cold, we're going to be still for quite a bit of time. So make sure that you have a blanket or something warm to cover you up and so that you can be comfortable. And as you come down into your space, as you come down into the resting position that you've chosen, what I'd like you to do is just start to take a moment to kind of get the wiggles out. So if something itches, if you need to like adjust a ponytail, move clothing around, adjust any kind of props that you have, anything that you're feeling like you need to make more comfortable, feel free to go ahead and do that. And I've often heard this phase kind of referred to as fidget asana, which is a combination of a yoga description with an English language here. So do your fidget asana, get your fidgeting out. You'll notice if you're looking at your screen, I'm just rolling up my sleeves so that I can also get comfortable. And then once you've taken a moment to get comfortable, I'd like you just to gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. And if you're sitting, just let your hands fall to your lap. I have one hand on top of the other, the thumbs reaching towards each other at the middle, like I'm holding a little tiny precious box in the palm of my hands. And if you're lying on your back, you can place your hands on your body, one on your belly, one on your heart. You can also just let your hands rest off to the sides. You can let your hands rest on your pelvis. There's no wrong way to find your resting position. And then as you begin to breathe, as you begin to settle down into your spot, as your body begins to just walk down that initial path of relaxation, what I'd like you to do is slowly begin to draw your awareness just to your breath. A sense of your breath moving in and moving out. The coolness of the air as it moves into your lungs and the warmth of the air as it exits. You don't have to control your breath. You don't have to deepen it. You don't have to change it. But just hold it in your awareness. Just notice it. And as you notice that breath, as you notice maybe the sound, the temperature, the cadence, and the quality of your breath, slowly begin to move your awareness outward. Notice the air against your skin, the sense of space around you. Notice if that space has a sound quality. Is there a low hum of a fan? Is there the click of an air conditioner? Is there the sound of wind blowing outside? Is there a sound of birds outside? And as you listen to your space, as you pay attention to all of those layering of subtle sounds, see if you can start to find the quietest sound in your space. Allow the senses of your hearing to reach out, maybe outside your room, maybe outside your home, maybe outside your space, and see if you can hone your hearing in on the most distant and the quietest sound you can hear. As you allow your hearing to go outward, you may notice this sense of dissolving, this sense of losing an idea of the boundaries of where you start and where the outside meets you. And if you start to notice this dissolving, this sense of almost on the atomic level of atoms interacting with one another, even subatomic particles interacting with one another as we breathe in and breathe out, as our skin breathes in and breathes out, as our ears listen further and further away. Notice what that dissolving feels like. Notice how listening outside the boundaries of the space that you are so familiar with begins to change your perception of yourself. What that self is made of what that self is. And if we think about it, if we think about those incredible images that we're getting just first glimpses of, coming back from a satellite that was launched into space not long ago and has a very powerful camera on it. You can imagine yourself like those galaxies that we see dissolving into space. I was reading earlier about the James Webb, and I was thinking about the idea of the size of our universe and what we know about it versus the size of our each individual lives, each individual breath. And the image we saw today came back after it was taken over a period of 12 hours, and it essentially covers the size of a grain of sand if you held it at arm's length in your vision. That's the amount of space that the James Webb has photographed so far. And that space goes in 3 dimensions. That space goes in a spherical sort of shape around us. Front, back, sides, vertically. And yet as you look at those pictures, as you see the images of these thousands of galaxies, both faint and bright, beautiful colors of orange, blue, green, white, spinning around gravity wells, spinning around each other. At the same time that this can seem incredibly overwhelming to know that there are countless galaxies out there, or at least there were countless galaxies out there more than 1 billion years ago, because the light we're only capturing now is that old. What fascinates me about this idea of space, both in the scientific term and in the yogic term, is that there's this vast universe out there that we know almost nothing about. And yet, the chances that we're alone in this vast universe are in fact very, very small. Just looking at those photos makes one realize that we're not alone. No matter how tiny and no matter how remote we are. And so as you drift in this space, as we drift in this space and in this time, because space and time are intimately intertwined. We define our lives by space, we define our lives by time. I'd like you to begin to draw your awareness back into your room, and without using your imagination, without using your creative process, see if you can sense with what I often call sort of my sixth sense, that back brain, that sense that you have. See if you can sense the space in your room. Notice if in the last few moments, perhaps that sense of space has shifted, that sense of space, that sense of awareness has changed. Notice if your space feels vast and open. Notice if your space feels contained, comforting almost. And as you start to bring your awareness back into your body, grounding more concretely into the physical sensations, we're going to begin to work with some of the space inside the body. So I've taken you on this journey out into the farthest reaches of space that we know. And we're bringing that vastness in. Bringing it inside our bodies, inside our cells. In fact, if you think about it, the majority of what we're made up of is space. Space for our lungs, space for our bellies, space for our pelvis, space for our eyes, our sinuses, our throat, our brain. And as you begin to draw your awareness into the body, we'll start with the space at the crown of the head. So begin to notice the sense of your brain as it rests down in to the skull. See if you can imagine the muscles around the skull just softening and making space. Coming into a full realization of the space inside your skull. And in the pauses between, in the silent space in between, begin to listen and soften into the awareness of space inside your skull. Notice if there's any tension around the forehead, the tops of the ears, the back of the skull. And begin to draw your awareness down into the space that houses your eyes, the hollows where your eyeballs rest. Where maybe they're currently bathing in darkness, encased by your eyelids. And see if you can just let the weight of your eyeballs just sink down and make space. Notice if there's any tension at the corners of your eyes, the centers of your eyebrows. Allow space to expand from your eyes up into your skull and back down. And then gently draw your awareness down into the space of your nose, your throat, and your sinuses, that space beneath your cheeks. Notice the coolness of the air as it comes in. Notice the warmth of the air as you exhale out. Allow the space in your mouth to open slightly, the roof of your mouth to move away from the base of your tongue. Feel the space between your teeth. The space at the back of your throat. The space at the hollow of your throat. The space at the top of your lungs. Watch that space as it gently rises and falls. As you notice the easy rhythm, the easy movement, as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And as your breath moves more deeply into your lungs, imagine breathing in all of that space. So much space that you become light. Almost so light that you feel as if you could float up off the mat. Allow that spaciousness to continue to move down into your belly. And notice as you breathe down into your belly, as the belly slowly rises and falls. If there's any tiny muscular holding, any tension, and hanging on in the belly. And if you notice any of this holding, allow your breath to simply fill it up and cleanse it with cool, open space. And slowly draw your awareness down into your pelvis. Notice if you're holding any tension in the outer hips, any tension in the lower body. Any tension, especially in that pelvic bowl. And as your breath deepens, allow all the muscles within your pelvis to relax, to reach their full potential and open up and create space. Send your awareness down into your knees and imagine the space between your thigh and your calf, resting, releasing, relaxing, and taking up more space. Feel the capsule of the knee just soften. Feel the muscles around the knee release. There's no need to hang on. There's no need to tense. And then begin to move your awareness down into your feet. Imagine the space between the bones of your feet widening just a little bit, just a millimeter, broadening and softening. Releasing any holding. Notice the space between your toes. Notice the space between your fingers. Notice the space beneath your fingernails. Notice the space within your ears as you listen to my voice. Allow that space to open, to soften, to release and relax. And begin once again to listen to the sounds of your room. Notice the sounds of your breath as if you are observing yourself. As if you're just floating above, watching this person that you know is you, that you identify with. Just breathe and rest. Allow your body to dissolve into the space. Into the vastness. And out into the universe. Allow your breath to come evenly, softly. Just gentle waves of energy, washing in and washing out. Moving with their own rhythm. Moving with the rhythm of the universe. Allow your body to rest in space. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to say. All you have to do is let go and rest. Namaste.